So we're seeing breakdown of trust, widespread loneliness, polarisation, fragmentation, increasing poverty and extremes of inequality.
What is needed is an organic change at the grassroots, and the school is really important here and has a vital role to play.
Each of us is called to play our part, no matter how modest, to look beyond our self-interest, to build what we call common good.
So we're living through a really strange and difficult time, aren't we?
Yeah, this is a really, really strange time. Unprecedented, really. So we're seeing breakdown of trust, widespread loneliness, polarisation, fragmentation, increasing poverty and extremes of inequality. We're seeing a weakening of civil society, and at local level we see communities marginalised, identity politics on the left and on the right, driving people apart. And it really affects our young people, doesn't it, Jo?
Yeah, it does. I was reading a recent report yesterday that said that 1 in 6 young people are experiencing poor mental health, and there is increasing demand from their families for support of that. Interestingly, loneliness is up among young people. 18 to 24-year-olds are the loneliest group of people in our society, exceeding that of elderly, which is astonishing.
The problem is rooted in a culture of individualism. And so this is a philosophy, it doesn't really reflect who we are as human beings, because we're relational beings. We're not isolated individuals. So, Jo, what do you think can be done about this? Because if the fundamental problem is cultural and the state isn't really helping, and in some ways the state's making things worse, what do you think is needed?
I think what is needed is an organic change at the grassroots. So this isn't a thing that can be solved by extra funding or changing the school curriculum. It's going to need a shift in the posture of local institutions. And the school is really important here and has a vital role to play.
Yeah, and often people feel that, the only credible solutions can be like big government policy changes or big campaigns.
Yeah, and especially when schools feel under pressure to deliver outcomes, to show impact quickly, whereas what we're saying is needed is a more gentle, relational and a slower approach, building back what's been lost.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because in fact, when you see the nature of the problem through this lens of individualism, then it makes sense that building relationships is the antidote. And it also, you can see more clearly what's been lost. And as you just said there, in the structure of a school day, when relational time is squeezed, that's actually the thing that's most important, is to build relationships, but not just in the school, but with the neighbours in the local area. It's this sense of being rooted and belonging, a kind of civic story. And we need to root this story in inspiring principles, not waiting for the next government initiative. So instead, we're saying at the grassroots, we need to strengthen our relationships together and engage local goodwill and share the responsibility.
Yeah, it can start small by sowing seeds locally, as schools can play their part by inspiring young people to take responsibility.
So it can be a bit daunting, can't it, the idea of doing something different? But it doesn't have to be, does it? So, now we can see that the seriousness of what we've lost this sense of a shared humanity. So how do we build that back?
Yeah, you're right, Jenny. We need to start seeing each other as human. And what does that mean beyond a cliche? I think young people need to understand that every person has deep value, and people experience their own value when they take responsibility.
Haven't we? We've got responsibility to contribute. And it's so much more rewarding to think in those terms than what are my rights, and I'm in a competition with you over rights. The sense of, what can I give, what can I contribute is actually more meaningful. Yeah, our common humanity must be seen to be what it is, which is sacred. And also that every single person has something to give. That's important. Each of us is called to play our part, no matter how modest, and to take responsibility according to our calling and ability. I mean, there are some people who have very, capable ability to do more. And some people can do much less, but everybody has something to give. This is a really important principle. The system of individualism is actually fundamentally flawed. It's based on a misunderstanding of human anthropology, because human beings flourish through good relationships.
That's right, yeah. Families are absolutely fundamental to our well-being, and reciprocity between the generations is so important. A school I know takes young people to visit their elderly neighbours in a care home across the road, and young and old absolutely love it.
It's that reciprocity, isn't it? Because sometimes we get into this mindset, we can do good to our vulnerable neighbours, and we think of it as a one-way traffic. But actually, what we're looking for is reciprocity. But this is against this backdrop of the culture having changed dramatically, and this individualism has actually been devastating for many people. Many people have become so isolated from each other, living in their flats. Don't turn to their neighbours in the way that perhaps people used to. We're becoming much more dependent on products and services than on each other. And so this is acting as a kind of dissolving of relationships.
Yeah, that's so true. And rather than retreating behind our front doors, as you say, and relying on that delivery to arrive and meet our needs, we should be participating and working together despite our differences to foster that solidarity with our neighbours, because everybody has something to contribute, and it's important that everyone can participate freely. As citizens, like you were saying, we don't just have rights, but we have responsibilities too. Our schools can be modelling this by building relationships with neighbouring institutions and enabling young people to join with that and take responsibility together.
So a third step we can take is to look beyond our self-interest to build what we call common good. And the way we describe that is like a shared life where everyone can flourish. And we say that the common good comes about when we refuse to be tribal and proactively work together across our differences to deal with the shared problems we face in our neighbourhood.
Yeah, as relational beings, we are designed to depend on one another and not just to be out for ourselves. And in fact, it's in our interest that other people thrive, because then we can ensure that nobody's left behind. The common good is more than just a set of principles. It's something we do and something we build. And it's generated by us when we act together.
Yeah, everything we've talked about is rooted in a rich tradition. Some of the most brilliant philosophers and theologians have done the heavy lifting for us. So we've collected some of these resources, religious and philosophical resources, on our website.
We have a schools programme too, called Common Good Schools. And it offers a set of pedagogical resources, a 10-week journey for 11 to 16-year-olds, consisting of a full suite of digital material, lessons, assemblies, and community engagement guidance. So for everyone watching this, how does it sit with you? Could your school become a force for the common good in your community?